Hey BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. Thanks for joining me today. I'm so glad you could be here. All my military history nuts out there, I got something for you. We are doing another mini Casemate spotlight. Lots of new military history have come across the desk here, and I want to show you some of the fantastic stuff that Casemate has been putting out in case you are so interested. I am particularly excited. Several of these books, they were a little bit late coming out, but they came out around the time or a little bit after of June. And in June, as you know, if you follow me on this channel, I did a whole month-long kind of commemoration of the 80th anniversary of D-Day, of the Normandy invasions in World War II. But since then, and I read D-Day, Stephen Ambrose, and had a book chat with Bill Rutenberg and Brian M.R. Did a few other videos where I highlighted some of the other D-Day books that are out there. Had a great interview with Colonel Keith Nightingale, the author of The Human Face of D-Day. So it was like a whole month long, like I said, a commemoration of that epic event. But anyway, Casemate had a few more books come out around that time, or a little after, that I wanted to show you. So I've got a few more books here on D-Day that it's just fantastic, because I really, like I told you early on in June, I really want to know everything about D-Day that I can, and there's a lot to know. So let's start with, we've got a lot of books here, but I'll start with the D-Day books. Super excited for this one. It's an 80th anniversary edition, and it's Dawn of D-Day. These Men Were There, 6th of June, 1944, by David Howarth. And this is put out by actually Greenhill Books, but it's the Casemate imprint. So let me just tell you a little bit about this one here. In this masterful work, David Howarth weaves together the testimonies of hundreds of eyewitnesses to produce an atmospheric account of the greatest amphibious landing ever attempted. It looks not only at the famous incidents, but at the full range of D-Day experiences, relating the running battles between parachutists and Germans in the Norman countryside, the torment of being under fire for the first time, the agony on the invasion beaches, and there was a lot of that, the shock of the German defenders, and all the confusion, elation, and horror of battle. I'm going to, if I can remember, I'm going to link in the description box below a link to our book chat on Stephen Ambrose's D-Day, the climactic battle of World War II. Because we had a great discussion about that book, and we talked about a lot of these different things that they're mentioning. The torment of being under fire for the first time was one of those aspects of the battle that you think about it in terms of fear and how fearful were they, but then Stephen Ambrose makes out in his book the case that a lot of the senior leadership, they wanted to make sure that they had untested soldiers. If you can believe this was like one of the most surprising revelations for me in reading that book, was that the soldiers themselves, they wanted them to be, in the parlance, unblooded. They didn't, for the ones that will be landing on those beaches, they didn't want veteran troops. And I think anyone who has been close to reading, or, hey, not even going as far as anyone who's fought in combat, but anyone who's been reading, about battles or military history or anything like that, would know that veterans know what to expect, and they would not want to go on those beaches. So it was kind of like a terrifying revelation reading that book, that, and it had to be coldly calculating in a sense, I suppose. They just wanted men on those beaches who did not know what they were about to witness. So boy, if that doesn't just underscore the carnage and chaos and the nightmare and the torment of being on those beaches, that would. So I'm very excited to take a look at this one as well, and see what else this can add to my my understanding of it. The Ambrose book was very detailed, a lot of stuff, and he curated a soldier's experiences very well. So at this point, I'm kind of reading other books to see how that will kind of fill in my, any questions or gaps that I might have. So I've got Dawn of D-Day. These men were there. Then the next one we have, and this is great because now that I've read the Stephen Ambrose book, I already know like some of the names or the numbers on these regiments that landed on the beaches. So now I have an insight, like I'm not reading this cold. So like this book here, Empire Javelin, D-Day assault ship, the British vessel that landed the U.S. 116th Infantry on Omaha Beach by Philip K. Bujak. Read all about the 116th Regiment on the beaches there, so on Omaha Beach. So this is just about the ship that carried them in. But let's see what we have here. Let's see here. Empire Javelin played an important role on D-Day, landing a company, 116th Regiment, also known as the Bedford Boys. That's how they're known most famously as the Bedford Boys, on Omaha Beach as part of the initial assault, or suicide wave, as it was known. Very true. The author highlights the often underappreciated involvement of the Royal Navy at Omaha Beach, but reveals that one reason for the high losses was the British design of the landing craft. Something else we talked about in our book discussion on D-Day. This account covers the actions of the ship herself and of the landing craft launched from her in great detail and centers on the tragic fate of the Bedford Boys. Philip K. Bujak also examines the ship's life before D-Day, from building to training, and then after D-Day to her loss in December 1944, including accounts and images of her sinking. All right. This is a clear testament to the contribution of these ships, which, though less glamorous than battleships or destroyers, played a vital role in Operation Overlord and the liberation of Europe. So Empire Javelin, D-Day Assault Ship by Philip K. Bujak. And this is a pen and sword book. All right. And these are all new releases, by the way. These are brand new books from Casemate and their imprints. Next book I have, so surprised at how many. We'll go here. This one is called Proposed Airborne Assaults During Operation Overlord, subtitled Cancelled Allied Plans in Normandy and Brittany by James Daly. And this is a frontline book. So these were the proposed. Oh, there they are, looking over their plans. And there's like, and this is the, who's this dude here? Who is that guy? Oh, so here we go. And on the back, they have a list of the proposed Allied airborne operations. Just the name, Operation Wastage. Wow, no thank you. All right, so let's get a little bit of a readout on this. Let me go. The airborne landings on D-Day played a major part in the success of the largest amphibious operation ever mounted. Yet, just over 3 months later, Operation Market Garden, the largest airborne operation ever attempted, failed to take all its objectives. That's right. It is notable, however, that in the film A Bridge Too Far, Dirk Bogarde's Lieutenant General Boy Browning refers to a large number of canceled operations since D-Day. What were these operations? Why do we know so little about them? And what can they tell us about Allied airborne planning and the way that the Allies fought in 1944? That's an interesting, kind of an understudied aspect of the airborne operations. Like, yeah, why did they succeed so well? The landings right in front of the infantry landings at D-Day. Why were those successful? And then Market Garden just crashed and burned, literally. So let's see here. As James Daly reveals, plans were considered or drawn up for a number of ambitious airborne assaults that could have formed part of the Allies' efforts to break out of the beachheads. Of these, 3, Operations Wastage, Tuxedo, and Wild Oats, might well have been part of the fighting in Normandy itself. Operation Wild Oats, for example, was to see the 1st Airborne Division help capture Cayenne in conjunction with the British 1st Corps and 30th Corps. 3 others, Operations Beneficiary, Hands Up, and Sword Hilt, were to be combined airborne and amphibious descents to seize the vitally important ports of St. Malo and Brest, as well as the Quiberon Bay area in southern Brittany. All right, let me see here. So for the first time, this book looks at each of these operations in detail. Okay, and a lot of these, a lot of this information and resources like maps and other things have never been published before. All right, so a little known aspect of the Allies' landings in France in the summer of 1944 is all the ones that did not actually happen. So we got Operation Overlord there, and then the final D-Day book, a little tiny little thing, is D-Day to VE Day, the final year of war in Europe. And this is by Pen and Sword, little skinny thing, and there they go. They're ready to get on with life. All right, right. Let me see what we got here. D-Day to VE Day tells the story of the last year of the Second World War in Europe, from the Normandy landings and on through the hard slog to that long-awaited day, May 8th, 1945, when Britain broke out the bunting, rolled out the barrel, and celebrated victory over Hitler. The air raid sirens were silenced, the lights could be switched on again, and the boys would be coming home. Using contemporary accounts of those final months, D-Day to VE Day looks at life in Britain, just in Britain, during those vital months as the events that brought an end to war in Europe, at the redrawing of national borders that would shape a new world order. Very, 160-odd page book. We'll see what this is about here. All right, so a few more books on D-Day to kind of give another aspect of other things that other books we've read on it already. All right. And this one I've been meaning to show you for a while. It's kind of been in my stack downstairs in the, as I call my parlor now, the mail room. But that's okay, because we are getting it. This book is, oh, that's right, it's not even out yet. Yeah, okay, so I'm not late getting to these. So now we're going to go to ancient Rome, guys, and really excited to get this one from Casemate. My contact there sent me the finished copy of a book that's coming out September 30th. And this is Violence in the Forum, Factional Struggles in Ancient Rome, 133 to 78 BC, by Natalie Barca. All right. Let's see here. The entry of daggers into the Forum is an expression that identifies two precise historical moments, when two tribunes of the plebs, brothers Tiberius Sempronius Gracchus and Caius Sempronius Gracchus, were murdered in Rome in 133 and 122 amidst bloody riots. These deaths and subsequent events marked the rupture of the constitutional order in the Roman Republic and the beginning of a political crisis. Thus began a political process that would lead over the span of 3 generations to the end of the Res Publica, a transition of endless violence, ransacking, and destruction, including 3 bitter and bloody civil wars. I'm going to skip down a little bit. There's a lot on this pub sheet. This book discusses this tumultuous period in Rome between 133 and 78 BC, covering the plots of the Senate of Rome against the Gracchi and their violent ends, the mysterious death of Publius Cornelius Scipio Aemilianus, say that 5 times fast, destroyer of Carthage and of Numantia, the ferocious lynching of Lucius Apuleius Saturninus, the seditious tribune of the plebs, the civil war between Marius and Sulla, including the siege and capitulation of Rome and Marius's reign of terror, ending with the definitive victory and proscriptions of Sulla. So I'm so tickled to get a ancient history book. Usually my Casemate stuff is it's mostly contemporary or 20th century. World War I, World War II, Vietnam, that kind of stuff. So now I got some Roman history in here, and I'm so thrilled. So this one's coming out September 30th from Casemate and Natalie Barca. Fabulous. So now we're going to head back to, that was our brief little stint in ancient history world. Let's see here. Let me show you this book, because this one is just beautiful. It's more like a coffee table sized book. It's an oversized book. It's nice, thick, and heavy. and very, it's just dripping with photographs. This is beautiful though. This book is called BattleScapes: The Impact of Terrain on War and Military Strategy by Ian D. Rotherham. And this is from Pen and Sword. So this is out of the UK. But you can see that it's a nice, big, oversized, whereas this one's it's a little bit, you can see it's a little bit bigger, right? And it's very richly illustrated. And like I said, just dripping photos. Oh, wow, the book just, oh, I got things falling out. Wow, look at that, you guys. Okay, so let's talk about how terrain impacts strategy. And I love stuff like this because you never think about it, but it definitely dictates the battle. Throughout history, nature, its resources, landscape, and terrain has shaped the tactics of warfare and determined its outcomes. From the medieval English fens to the 20th century Iraqi marsh Arabs, landscapes have fostered resistance and dissension. Harnessed by people under threat, the landscape has influenced strategies and tactics. Okay, so water and wetland halted United States campaigns in the Florida Everglades. All right. Right, because that would be the war against the Seminoles, I believe. In the Second World War, the Dutch flooded the drained polders to halt the Nazi advance. Similarly, the Chinese nationalist forces breached the flood dikes of the Yellow River in 1938 to halt the Japanese advance with massive loss of human life. Mountain ranges and deserts have also long provided landscapes for resistance fighters. From the former Yugoslavia to Afghanistan, these gnarly battlescapes traversed time and space. Libyan fighters held off invading Italian forces by operating from the caves and valleys of the Green Mountain. The Welsh similarly defended their principalities against the Angevin Normans. Through these pages, we reconsider the evolution of human impacts on an astonishing variety of landscapes and waterscapes, especially as they have been shaped and often degraded by mass conflicts covering more than 2 millennia. Wow, this is going to be so good. Oh, scenes from a Napoleonic battlefield. And just look at this beautiful line drawing in the... Wow, that's good stuff. A Russian gun battery in trouble in the Russo-Japanese War. Oh my gosh. I love it because it's just a mishmash. It goes through all times and places and eras and battles and countries, and I love it. It's just wide-ranging. The Spectre of European War, and here's another sketch. This is very, ooh, so dark. Look at this pencil sketch here. And there's a nice foreword here. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into this. And I think it starts off with, a preamble, introduction to landscapes of resistance. I'm spending time on this one because I'm really intrigued. Terrains of conflict, assault, and defense. And unfortunately, I just found a really large typo. Oh no, Pen and Sword. Well, maybe in the paperback, when this goes to trade paperback, we can fix that. There is a misspelling of a word in a chapter header. That is not good. Pen and Sword and Casemate. I am a fantastic copy editor. Proofreading runs in my blood. I would have caught that in a heartbeat. But anyway, just letting you know, my contact info is in the About button. Okay, well, it's correct on chapter 4, but then everywhere else at the top of the page, it's incorrect. I don't want to draw too much more attention to it, but I can help you with anything like that because I love to proofread. BattleScapes: The Impact of Terrain on War and Military Strategy by Ian D. Rotherham. So I just really excited for this one. All right. Let's get in. Oh, and this is another writer I really enjoy. I like to listen to him on podcasts on the like New Books Network or whatever for the history section. He's written just a ton of different books. They vary quite a bit, but he writes a lot about like strategy, world strategy. This one's a little bit different. This is Jeremy Black, and this is Histories of War. And this is also a pen and sword book, not too big. Let's take a look. This is a global account of histories of war from antiquity to the present day. And this thoughtful book shows how the varied modes of representation record political, cultural, and social developments, as well as military events. So it covers all forms of discussion and commemoration, from statuary to scholarship, films to novels. That could be interesting. Important not only to those interested in the history of war, but also to those concerned with culture and history in general. So histories of war. Okay, yeah, I get that. I almost feel like it's a topic on its own that would be vastly larger than this, don't you think? The book is about it's 195 pages. Soaking wet. So I'm thinking he's giving a very 50,000 foot view, because the chapters are, we've got, if your first few chapters are kind of feeling out the size of the elephant, you know what I mean? Like, what's the issue we're talking about here? Let's get all the angles. He talks about issues, mediums, and official views. Then he goes into the popular buzz, and then it goes into like time frames. I guess prior to the last half millennium, so like prehistory through 1500. I mean, and he does that in 20 pages. So you know what I'm saying. Interesting. But then toward the modern is 1500 to 1770. Revolution and technology is 1770 1914. Writing the world wars. So this will be interesting, but I think it's just, like I said, it's going to be a very high-level view. But I like Jeremy Black. He's a very cogent writer and a very articulate speaker, and he's very knowledgeable. He's a British guy, I believe, and I've listened to him, and I've read some of his books, and I wanted to really excited to see he's got another one out. So, Histories of War by Jeremy Black. Then, oh my gosh! All right, let's knock out the bad guys. You got to have at least one Hitler book and at least one Stalin or Russian book, right? So this one, did I request this one? I don't know, but either way, I might have. So this is a Casemate title, and this is Guest of Adolf. The War of Staff Sergeant Ernest V. Vogt, 805th Tank Destroyer Battalion. Okay, so the pub sheet says, a little slim volume here, a pub sheet says, I was a guest of Adolf. This was how Ernest Vogt responded when asked about his wartime experience. A guest of Adolf. Ernest Virgil Vogt was born and brought up in Tyrone, Pennsylvania. He was drafted into the Pennsylvania Army National Guard in April 1941 and assigned to the 105th Infantry Battalion anti-tank. After training, he participated in the Carolina maneuvers. The National Guard unit was redesignated as the 805th Tank Destroyer Battalion, being deployed to North Africa in January 1943. Ernie was captured in his first action in February 1943. Remaining a prisoner of war until May 1945, when the Russian army liberated his camp. During these 27 months, he was held in 5 different POW camps and was forced to march between camps in the depths of the 1944-45 winter. Using his wartime diaries and letters home, this book offers an insight into this tank destroyer battalion and the experiences of prisoners of war. Did I mention? Sorry, and I don't know if I mentioned the author. The author's Michael Zhang. Oh, what do you know? See, when you read the author bio, you find out key stuff. Okay. Michael Zhang he met Staff Sergeant, the subject of his book, Staff Sergeant Ernest Folk's daughter. He met his daughter, Karen, in 1969, and they married in 1973. So this was his father-in-law. What do you know? Over the course of the next 30 years, Michael eavesdropped as Ernie spoke to anyone who would listen to his experiences as a World War II prisoner of war. That's interesting. So those stories in combination with his personal interest in military history led to his desire to memorialize folks' experiences. That is fantastic. And so Michael Zhang was also in the military and commanded troops in Desert Shield and Storm. So fantastic. Guest of Adolf. It's about his father-in-law. And I do like to read how people are able to somehow survive those situations. So looking forward to that. It's not really about Adolf after all. Hey, it just has his name in the title. But it's not about him. It's about good people overcoming evil. All right. So this book, Anthony Tucker Jones. I don't know much about him, but let's take a look at this. This is Stalin's Revenge, Operation Bagration, and the Annihilation of Army Group Center. I feel like I should have rhymed at the end of that. Operation Bagration and the Annihilation of the Army Group Center and Centration. Anthony Tucker Jones. So this is you can tell a UK, definitely UK book. Blurbed very well by all the major British military historians. Well, actually, those blurbs are for his other books. But anyway, let's see what this one is about. I don't have a pub sheet. Oh, that's unfortunate. What do I? Is that a pub sheet? Hang on, let's see. Oh, I don't. But this is about. This looks to be a bit more detailed. It's got a lot about military movements, units, as you can see. So this might be less of a mainstream history than, military history nuts like me. Love these type of maps. I used to draw battle maps when I was a little girl. Wow. I've just revealed my complete nerdiness to you. I would actually take Civil War, like big Time Life books, put a piece of tracing paper on it, and I would trace out the lines of like the battles of Gettysburg. Then I'd take them and color them in with the different units. I don't know what it was. It's there from an early age, guys. So Operation Bagration, Stalin's Revenge Unleashed. And there's some definite unleashing happening right there. All right, so we've got Stalin's Revenge, Anthony Tucker Jones. I don't have more to say on that without my pub sheet, but anyway. And I love survival stories. And when I saw this one, I said, yes, please. I do want to look at this one. And I do like the book, the dust jacket cover. First I was like, what? And then I'm like, actually, this really works. It kind of has a sense of doom and foreboding. But this is called Survival in the South Pacific. A Lost Airman's Desperate Rescue Amid the Maelstrom of War by Robert Richardson. Look at that cover. He's going in. Oh, and this reminds me of, by Casemate, by the way. This reminds me of, and maybe I'll talk about it at the end. We're kind of running out of time, but I watched on HBO Max, they have a new documentary. And of course, I think they're trying to make it seem like, oh, it's final. The mystery is solved, Finding Amelia. Let me just say this, and I'll get back to survival in the South Pacific, but it touches, obviously, she went missing, in the Pacific. I guess it was the South Pacific. Anyway, this guy. First of all, Amelia Earhart has been one of my personal heroes since I was young, a very young girl. I even wrote a short story called Finding Amelia Earhart. And I used to have like posters of her up. I'd like to get a nice framed black and white photo of her iconic, like, with her aviator cap on. I've always loved Amelia Earhart. And, you know, just like when people ask me, do I have an opinion on like this mystery from history, you know, like Lizzie Borden, you know, what did she do it? You know, I have an opinion. And people, no one's asked me yet, what do you think happened to Amelia Earhart? But anyway, and so I've seen a multitude of the different guys that go out searching for her, and then they make these documentaries or these primetime television shows, you know, I mean, on the History Channel, and they're all like, we think we found her. Oh my God, we found her. And they go to a commercial break, and they come back from commercial break, and it's just like something else floating in the water. You know what I mean? They just bait and tease. So I went into this thinking, okay, this is more of the same. Well, then this guy, he starts to like lay out this thing, and he's a pilot, and he's been, again, of course, been obsessed with this, and he thinks he's found something that is the evidence. Of course, the rest of the episode, or the whole, well, it's just like one show. This guy is just like, he's completely disappointed left and right. And where he knows, he thinks he sees where the airplane is, because he believes that Amelia turned around. If you want to watch it, then stop watching this, because I'm going to give you a spoiler. But he thinks that she had a backup plan. If she couldn't find Howland Island, that she was going to turn around and go back to Rabaul in Papua New Guinea. But that she ran out of gas and they crashed in the jungle. So anyway, check out Finding Amelia. Come back to me and let me know what you thought of the whole thing. But by the end of it, I'm like, you know what? Some mysteries don't want to be solved. I don't think, and it's just like, leave her alone. For me, it's like with Amelia Earhart, don't try to find her. She's too big for that. She's like up here, man. She's in our imagination and our minds, and it's like, just let it be. Let her rest. That's my thought. But anyway, let's get back to survival in the South Pacific. So this came at the perfect time after watching that very frustrating Amelia Earhart documentary on HBO Max. So in September, I can hold this up. You can just look at this really cool. Look at this cool. The sun's coming back out. We were having storms, guys, so I had to turn on some lights. It got a little dark in here, but anyway. Or we're about to get storms, but it hasn't happened yet. In September 1944, as America began advancing from its foothold on Guadalcanal, a young American airman was lost in heavy weather over the South Pacific on what was expected to be a routine flight. In examining that loss and the events leading up to a rescue attempt on an island in the South Pacific and bringing together societies utterly alien to each other, Survival in the South Pacific brings together the big themes of the Pacific War. Lieutenant Leonard Richardson and his comrades had been swept from their homes across America, trained at speed for war, and dispatched to one of the remotest places on the globe. American war plans in place when Pearl Harbor was attacked poorly reflected the capabilities of its military and the limits imposed by America's far-flung and indefensible territories. The Germany First policy had resulted in a deeply uncertain future for forces in the South Pacific and Australia. The U.S. was unprepared for the global war that came to it in late 1941, even as the pipeline of men and material began to fill. Okay. Young Allied and Japanese aviators, sailors, and soldiers were not the only ones thrown into the swirling maelstrom of war that had engulfed the Pacific. The indigenous islanders were also immersed in a new reality. That's so true. We don't think of those things. So I'm excited to read this. I'm going to see if he kind of brings in those tribes and stuff. In bringing together individual stories of men at war, this book gives a new perspective on the Pacific War. Okay. Our author, Robert Richardson, he's had a successful career in international business and global education, and then he began writing about the little-known, personal, but critically important stories of World War II and the Cold War. He is a lifelong conservationist and a co-founder of the Inland Northwest Land Conservancy. This looks really good. So I'm wondering if this is a bunch of, it's a Lost Airman, but I think it's going to cover a lot of different aspects. Here's the indigenous folks that I was talking about, and how it's a new reality for them when you've got a modern, modernity literally crashing into your, your homes and your land. This is fascinating. The New Hebrides and its people is a chapter. And then it goes into Santo and Guadalcanal. Survival. Okay, so like the crash happens around chapter 15, it looks like. Survival. So, I love survival stories. So this will be a great read. Cannot wait. A couple more books, guys. We'll wrap up here. I haven't read a book, like a unit history book in a while on, well, this one is MacArthur's. MacArthur's Fighting Men in the Pacific War. And this is a Casemate book. So this is called MacArthur's Bloody Butchers, Company G, 163rd Infantry Regiment in the Pacific War by Brian Bruce. Yeah, little slim Casemate title. Okay, let's see here. An all-around account of the actions of Company G of the 163rd Infantry Regiment, 41st Division, U.S. Army, during World War II in the Pacific. The narrative follows the company from training in the Pacific Northwest to Australia, New Guinea, the Philippines, and on to Japan. So yeah, this is a very tactical book. So if you're looking, this is gonna be for the specialist. Let's say here it says each of the actions in which this company was participated is described at every level in this book: divisional, regimental, battalion, company, and individual. So that's a lot of specificity. Again, only hardcore military history nuts will be drawn to this. Anyway, so it'll look at these at those levels to show how strategies and decisions made at the highest levels were experienced by individual soldiers. This unit saw action in the Papuan Campaign, 1943, the New Guinea Campaign, 1944, and the Southern Philippines Campaign, 1945. Okay, so actually, I should have read the back, because I actually had like the names of the actual men involved in this. Anyway, it covers the experiences of 4 men. The experiences of them from this company. I see. Okay, so it's like 4 guys. Yeah. Sounds good, though. Sounds good. All right, MacArthur's Bloody Butchers. All right, final book from this latest installment of Casemate. And I've got a bunch more Casemate that just arrived. They keep rolling off the lot. We've got, I've got a couple of other Casemate books by this author. This is Peter Harmson's Fury and Ice. Greenland, United States, and Germany in World War II. Not too big of a book, but Fury and Ice. Let me see if I can find a smaller blurb. It says here, during World War II, Greenland played a pivotal role in Allied strategy, both as an indispensable base for weather stations and as a key hub for transportation of men and material from North America to Europe. Its strategic importance resulted in a deadly cat-and-mouse game between American and German forces that would play out across some of the most formidable terrain in the world. And there it goes again. There's where terrain comes in, right? In wartime, it's critical you know about your terrain and how you can use it to your, for your best purposes, I should say, as I'm looking at a bunch of photos here, frozen ships and stuff. Because, it is Greenland. And it is cold. Yeah, I had no idea about Greenland playing such a large role, but that makes sense. So, and Peter Harmson, the other books I have by him are, he wrote the War in the Far East trilogy, which Casemate put out, and I have those, and they're great. Nice, doable little thin volumes that kind of give you... get you closer to the topic, and it's definitely not like definitive, but it get you started if you wanted to study the war in the East, the Far East, I should say. So yeah, Well, we're going to learn all about how Greenland and Germany and how we all kind of just. I'm going to read a little more. It's a story seldom told. Greenland was the only part of the North American continent where German troops maintained a presence for long periods throughout World War II. Wartime interest in Greenland was a direct result of its vital strategic position. To predict the weather in Europe, right, you needed personnel on the vast frozen island. The most celebrated example of Greenland's crucial contribution to Allied meteorological services, oh, here we go, ties back to D-Day, is the correct weather forecast in June 1944 that led to the decision to launch the D-Day invasion. See how it all ties together? Isn't that crazy? The Germans were aware of the value of Greenland, and they repeatedly attempted to establish semi-permanent weather stations along the sparsely populated east coast of the island. This resulted in an epic game of cat and mouse in which U.S. Coast Guard personnel, assisted by sledge patrol manned by Scandinavian adventurers, struggled to locate and eliminate German bases while also battling the elements. And then it goes into America's entry into the war and then what they were doing over there in Greenland. Okay. It's pretty interesting. Definitely a keyhole history. So Fury and Ice by Peter Harmson. And, I mean, we've just got so many wonderful selections here from Casemate. Thank you so much. Let me know which books you like below. At some point, I think I might be doing a giveaway. I might need to talk with whomever is the lucky person who might want, well, it's not lucky because someone's going to have to pay for shipping. I've got a lot of books that I would like to donate or, yes, just to spread the love, but I cannot afford the shipping, even with media mail. It would have to be sent out in batches or something. But you know what? Let's talk about it. And let me see if there's any interest below from anyone. Military history nuts. Do you like Casemate titles? Do you like these pen and sword titles? Give me some feedback in the comments below. I know my military history focused videos, even though I'm a history shelf channel and, you know, military history is one part of a big umbrella of history. They typically, I know it's a niche interest. Not everyone's interested in military history, but I know a lot of you out there are. So give me some love in the comment section below by telling me about your love or your interest or what makes you so interested in military history. I'm trying to get a head count of how many people on this, the viewers really like the military history content. It's one of my passions. So again, I know it's a smaller target area, but I need to share this love with someone. So let me hear from you below. All right, guys. So that's going to be all for today from the History Shelf. Remember to embrace the suck. You know, people in the military know what that means. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching the History Shelf. If you could, give me a like. Hit me up on subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that great groovy stuff. I'll be back again real soon with another video, so thanks again for spending time with me today. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.